So in this episode, we dive into how we found our contractors in Columbus and what questions you should ask. Okay. Welcome everyone to Investing with the Baldo
Vinos. Sorry, I got so focused on saying the vino.
I'm Josh.
I'm Hannah.
And this is our journey in real estate investing. So in this episode, we're talking about how to find contractors. She took the lead on this one. So I'm gonna let her take it away for this. So what did we do first?
Okay, well, technically, I mean, you got a list of contractors from the first real estate agent that you spoke with. So he had this list and a spreadsheet and just a bunch of contractors in the Ohio area. Right. And so then I literally just took that list and started just calling everybody one by one. And I think we took a template of questions from Bigger Pockets. And then, so I started off with that, but then, you know, I was kind of noticing as we're going through each contractor, you know, some of the conversation will go pretty easily. I need like a light or something to shine on me when, you know, I'm doing this. Yeah, I had this, went off the list of questions. But then, you know, as I was going through each conversation with the contractors, each contractor, the conversation kind of like flowed a little bit, and then I was kind of like getting a feel of what kinds of questions I wanted to ask or what were the exact points that I needed to know from them. So, but yeah, that was pretty much how it happened. But the one that we ended up choosing for our Ellsworth property was actually a referral from our current real estate agent / property manager. So we ended up just going with them anyway. Into some of the questions that were important to us to make sure that we got answered before we moved forward with our current contractor.
Okay, so a few of the questions. The first question that we liked was, do you work with out-of-state real estate investors, of course? And why was that important?
I was going to say, why was that important? Yes, so it's important because first, the perspective that a contractor has working with someone that was creating their like primary residence it's going to be really different than someone that's going to be working with an investor. But even if a contractor worked with investors that was in the area, that experience is still a little bit different, because when we're out of state, we want to know, like, is the contractor going to be willing to send us updates, send us videos, FaceTime with us during the property, just to get, you know, kind of walk us through the progress of the rehab. So we wanted to make sure that they were going to be willing and able to do that. And then they understood as out-of-state investors that was going to be something important to us.
You know, an interesting note about like being out-of-state investors that I really worried about, especially with the Ellsworth property because it needed the full rehab, was I found myself actually checking the weather in Columbus a lot.
Oh, yeah, because we just talked to our contractor now, and they said that it was like 15 degrees and it was going to be super snowy, a big snowstorm. So yeah, of course, they're not going to be working on the roof, and they're not going to be painting the house during that. And that really... But
yeah, I mean, because they needed a new roof, and so I knew that, oh, shoot, like there's only a few day window, basically, like 2-day window before the next snowstorm. Otherwise, and like, how long does snow last? I don't know. We don't live in the snow. Yeah. Okay, anyways, next question.
Do you work with hard money lenders? Why is that important?
Oh, thanks, babe, for asking.
What a weird noise. Sorry.
Obviously, you know, for us, we're the second deal we're funding through hard money, and there's a draw process on that, which we'll dive into in another video. But that was our funding source, right? And that draw process, you know, essentially is just getting reimbursed for work that's been done.
Wait, can we break that down a little bit? Just because before this whole experience, I didn't know what a draw process was. So why don't you break that down to what that means? Okay. What is a draw?
Well, so hard money is a short-term loan, higher interest rates, and they can also pay for the rehab through a draw process, which basically means that you go to the contractor and you say, hey, what work was done? How much did it cost, right? So this could be painting, floors, kitchen cabinets, right? That costs $15,000. Great. You then go to the hard money lender. And then they verify that the work was done. They give you $15,000. You move the $15,000 over the contractor. That's the draw process.
Yeah. Yeah. But we digress. Yeah. Let's get back to contractors.
So the last question was, do you charge for bids?
Now, what's a bid?
Oh, what's a bid?
I was trying to be cute, but whatever.
A bid is how much the job costs, right?
Yeah, so an itemized list of the things that need to be done during the rehab, and then the scope of work, and then how much it's going to cost. When you have a rehab job, you want to at least get three bids is what all the resources tell you to do. But sometimes those contractors will charge for bids. So I think the few that we talked to they charge around $250, which is a pretty hefty chunk of change. So that's something that you want to ask, because if you're asking 3 different contractors, that can really add up. Some of them were okay with not doing it, that they were kind of like, well, we'll do the first one for free, but if it kind of becomes like if they're chasing their tails a little bit and not getting jobs from it, then they'll start charging. So that's an important question to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard as a new investor. I have no idea how much it costs to redo a kitchen and a bathroom, right? And so, there is almost like an education cost of being able to guesstimate in a new area how much materials and labor are. And so that's something that you kind of just have to accept right away, that if you're gonna go into a new market and you don't have a contract already, that's already a fixed expense that you should, not think about, but just accept.
Important why experience with the investor is important is because us being new, they would be the experts on what would actually add to the ARV. And so if they're not going to do like crazy fancy finishes, because it's not necessarily going to bring the price of the house up. So that's one reason why we want a contractor that understands ARV and the neighborhoods. And then another question actually is, do you have your permits and your licenses, like all the things that you need? Because some people work with folks that aren't necessarily licensed. And so that was something that was in all the things. But actually one of the contractors laughed at me, was like, oh, that's a bigger pockets question, isn't it? And I was like, yeah.
But I mean, as funny it is that you get laughed at, our lender actually does require them to be licensed and insured. So, I mean, you just have to ask, just because our lender won't give you money for the rehab if you hire the wrong contractor, which means then you're stuck, right? Like, what do you do? But yeah, I mean, there's a million more questions, and it's just honestly just the more people you call, the easier it gets at the end of the day. And so maybe just a quick story about our experience on our first full rehab. It was an interesting one for sure.
Yeah. So the first contractor that I really liked.
Let me give you some context, right? So this is technically the first house we ever bought. That was the Ellsworth property. Here's a beautiful picture of the boarded up windows. The windows are busted. Needs a new roof. Needs kitchen refinish. Needs bathroom refinish. This is almost as full of a rehab as you can get. So we had no idea how much this would cost in Columbus. Now enter scene 2.
So the first contractor that I was really excited about, I was like, he spoke the right lingo, like ARV, market value, investors, hard money loan. And so I asked him to do a bid, and he wasn't going to charge us. And then we got our first bid from him, and it was very shocking, to say the least. It was about $150,000.
We bought the property for $75,000.
Yes.
So, which means all in, not including the money cost, we would be all in at least at $225,000.
Yeah. So clearly our visions for the house were very different. So we actually ended up getting on a call with him, and then we walked through the actual bid, because we were trying to understand like how it could be that high. And he essentially, reduced some of the scope of work, but then pretty much quoted like a 120, was it 120,000 or something like that? And so we were clearly still very off.
So, I mean, the highest comp in the area, which actually was the house next door, was sold for $200K, which means that if we bought it for 75, put in 150, we're $25K over the highest comp, which means that there's no way that we would refinance. The deal would be null. We were like, all right, 30, 35, sure, right?
Yeah.
Budgeting for a little bit extra. So we got 150, like we were shocked.
Yeah. So we immediately obviously went to our real estate agent, who are amazing people. Obviously, we've mentioned that before, but we're like, what is this? Why is this happening to us? And we were really scared, because we had that freak out a couple of days, because we're like, okay, are we in over our heads? Or did we just completely not estimate the cost of this, house properly, blah, blah, blah. And then the real estate agent immediately came back and was like, oh no, like this person clearly doesn't want to work with you guys. Like you guys are not on the same page. So, but yeah, so that made us feel a lot better. And then they're like, let us get our general contractor out there. So then our general contractor that is working on the house now, he came back with a bid that was much more reasonable and much more what we had aligned with our expectations. So it was like, Whew.
Yeah. I mean, all in, basically, we had a roofing contractor, and then that GC come in, and total with both of the bids, it was at $29,000, which was basically spot on. And since then, there's been a few more things, obviously, just as it happens. But I mean, that didn't break the deal, and so now we're moving forward, and we're 3 weeks into rehab. The roof was done super fast. Like it took like a day and a half maybe.
Yeah.
And then he's halfway through the job, so maybe we'll put some little update pictures here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I will also share that when we finally chose Chad to start the job, the first conversation I had with him, it was like a week later. He was like, oh, I have a few things that I want to go over with you, and I want to know your opinion on what you want to do with such and such things. So I remember feeling so overwhelmed because, number one, I know nothing about contractors or rehab or anything.
She doesn't even build IKEA furniture.
That is false. I actually built my bookshelf and my bed frame.
When's the last time you did it?
In college.
How long ago was that?
Which was not that long ago. Why you gotta call me out though? But I did it. But when you get a nice strong husband now, I don't know why I would have to continue to build furniture, but whatever. Anyway.
I believe in equality.
Whatever. So, but I remember he was talking about like what color shingles and the trim and the flooring and I was like taking these notes, and I wish I had my notepad here, but it was like frantic notes, and I was like, can I talk to my husband first and I'll get back to you? He's like, yeah, sure. We don't have to decide it now. And I was like, okay. It's like, babe, I don't know. It's the paint color's like Reverb Pronto or something like that. I was like, what? I don't know. What should we do? And then, but yeah. But freak out moment, it's fine.
Yeah, and we still have yet to fully finish that cycle, right? So that's to be determined. Any closing thoughts?
You got to manage your expectations on how the working relationship plays out with the contractor. So contractors don't operate the same way that you do as someone that's constantly by their emails and on their computers, right?
So here's what she's trying to say.
What am I trying to say?
She's trying to say that we're on our emails and texts all day because that's our job. The contractors, their job is to fix the house. And when they don't have a response time as fast as us, that was initially concerning to her, and she had to adjust that expectation.
Yeah, I was like, he said he was going to send me a video tonight, but he didn't. Like, why didn't he send a video? But, it just, you have to, again, and then follow up the next day, and that's fine. So that's part of your job as the investor to, why did I do investor in quotes? We are investors. We are investors. So that's your...
20 minutes. So
what's your final thought?
Granted, we haven't fully finished the project, but like Chad's pretty much stuck to the timeline and the budget, and I know that was like the hardest thing to do. And so like I can finally kind of see why investors don't really like to pass out who their contractors are. Like that makes sense, right? Because once you have a good one, you're like, no, I want you to do my jobs and have time for my jobs. But if I keep telling you, hey, you can use my contract, you can do it, right? Like they ain't got time like Oprah, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But
yeah, you don't want to share like the jewels that you find, the gems that you find. I get it.
Yeah. Well, that was so far our process in finding and working through our first jobs. If you found this helpful, make sure to like the video. That helps us a lot. Also, if you're enjoying our content and you want to continue along the journey, make sure to subscribe. Don't forget the free stocks at the bottom. WeBull, Robinhood.
And if you want your eyebrows to look as nice as this and get microbladed, comment below and I will let you know who did them.
We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Cheers.
All right. Welcome everyone to Investing with the Baldo
Vinos. Burr, burr, burr. I swear, after 10 episodes.
Okay.
All right.
Welcome to Investing with the Baldo
Vinos.
Burr, burr, burr. Wait, are we both saying Vinos or is it just one?
I thought we were saying Vinos together.
Okay, welcome everyone to Investing with the Baldo. Dang it. Take 3 for sure this time.